Mike hit me up and said, hey, LOL, how awesome was it hearing Noel fans boo Herbie every time he spoke on game day? Not all that awesome, I guess, was the kind of secret that no one wanted to tell you guys yesterday. It sounded kind of lame. I'm all for you doing it. That's fine with me. I've always loved the Will Muschamp quote, I'd much rather have to tell a horse, whoa, boy, than have to constantly tell a horse, giddy up. He was talking about football players. I feel the same way about fan bases. So if the worst thing a fan base does is act overly passionate and enraged because they perceive a wrongdoing, fine by me. I had it directed at me, not to the degree Herbstreit did. I mean, there are people who paint Herbstreit as like the face of the deep state of college football now. Shockingly, he is not. But I know a lot of you believe that and you couldn't be told otherwise. We experienced it, though. Remember, because I did my little flip-flop on Florida State last year, and I at one time said, no matter if Jordan Travis is hurt or if he's playing, if Florida State's undefeated, they belong in the playoff. But then at the end of the day, I said I thought Alabama should have gotten in. So that sounded hypocritical. That sounded like a flip-flop. So then everyone came after me as well. And let me let you guys in on a little something. I know a lot of you orchestrated going and downvoting the videos and the podcast. That actually helped us. So I would appreciate you to continue doing that. My advice, if you're trying to hurt us, is probably find another way. Just a little friendly piece of advice. That actually helped us. That actually boosted us a lot. I don't know how, but it did. So there was really no reasoning. Like, it didn't matter at that point for me to explain myself. There was no reasoning. But the trade-off for people being passionate is sometimes this stuff happens. So if Herbstreit gets booed on game day, he's an adult. He can take it. He can get on his private jet and fly home. I mean, what a life to live, right? So I did see him fire a tweet off, probably somewhere over the Atlantic, and it takes a big man to tweet that. He didn't address it. He didn't address the booing. He just said, tough loss for the Noles. And I looked at it and I smiled and I said, I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing. But here's the thing about it. I used to traffic in this stuff. Real talk. I grew up an Atlanta Braves fan, and I used to swear to you that ESPN was out to get the Braves. You could never tell me otherwise. And I would cherry pick where they got placed. They're in the C block of SportsCenter, whereas the Mets are in the B block, even though the Mets are 15 games out of first place and the Braves are right in the thick of it. I had no shortage of evidence. Just like you guys have no shortage of evidence that there is a grand media conspiracy, and was last year, around FSU. I got inside the media business. Here's what changed my opinion of it. Number one, I kind of saw behind the scenes and I realized, yeah, most of that stuff's fake. And then the other thing is I got accused of a lot of it. And I know me, if nothing else, I know me. I know how I feel about Florida State. I know, how I feel about any given matter in this sport. And so I get accused of homerism all the time, being a hater sometimes of the same teams. But I remember having a conversation with Jesse and management, and I actually said, you know what's dawned on me? These people are accusing me of the same stuff I used to accuse like ESPN of, and I know I'm not guilty of it. I laugh at most of it. So I'm sitting here knowing me, and then I started asking, wait a second, was I wrong about that stuff all those years? And then furthermore, are most of these grand media conspiracies just that? Grand media conspiracies? So let me go back just a second. To flip it back to Herbstreit, y'all can boo Herbstreit all you want to. All he did was sit on TV and give you his opinion. McElroy did the same thing. You came after him. I did the same thing. You came after me. How many of you went after Bill Hancock? I'm not suggesting any of you go after anyone, by the way. Let me state that very clearly. For the record, mean tweets should be the extent of you going after anyone. Here's where I flip-flopped for a little refresher course. You want to know why I sounded like a hypocrite? You want to know why I flip-flopped? It's because for this entire process, I was of the opinion, I was under the notion even, that we were taking the most deserving teams in the playoff. I just thought that was the language. I thought that was what they always had done. Let me take you back to November 28th, the week of rivalry week last year. Bill Hancock, on his way out the door, I believe, the chair of the playoff committee, said, quote, most deserving is not in our lexicon. We're taking the best teams. He didn't have to say that. He voluntarily said that. So then I listened and I thought, well, if that's your criteria, that's totally different. If we're taking the best teams, I think Bama would beat Florida State. At the end of the day, when I compare their resumes and I think they're the better team, Well, all of a sudden, I didn't change status quo. Herbstreit didn't change status quo. McElroy didn't change status quo. They looked at the guy with the playoff sticker on his lapel and listened to what he said. At least this is what I did. And I said, whoa, that's a game changer. We did 2 segments on it on the show. I said, Bill Hancock said, what now? At the 11th hour, he said, what? So I got to the end of the finish. I got to the finish line and I said, I think a couple of things. I think they got the right 4 teams based on their stated criteria, and I think they screwed Florida State, which was perceived by some to be fence riding. No, it wasn't. I'm telling you, based on my understanding of the thing from the whole time, that Florida State should have gotten in. They changed the language at the 11th hour, and all of a sudden they say, it's not about deserving, which I thought it had always been about. No, so they changed the score. So based on that, yeah, I thought Bama should have been in. But that was like 5 minutes old because I'd never heard anyone talk like that before. So, yeah, congrats. You booed Herbstreit, and then you got beat as a double-digit favorite. So he still looks the same today. You don't. I'm not sure who we declare the winner there.